Okay, today we're going to talk about glitches and the effects of glitches on performance. We're going to talk the effects of a loose fuse on how many things it can affect and how many things it can affect. Those are just as important as what it can affect. So we look at our schematic. You want to print that out. We see the PCM in the lower left. We see the scope in the center part of the page. We see the PGI main relay, which when it latches, it powers the crank sensor, powers the PCM at 2 terminals, and it also powers, it is the feed to the fuel injectors. Ignition coil relay, fuse 2 protects that. That is upper right. When that latches, it powers the ignition coils. We're going to see the effect of a glitch on fuse 8. If the green crusties every now and then get into fuse 8, they're going to have an effect on our performance. Loose fuses, I've seen them, people put thousands of dollars into cars due to a loose fuse. So basically we're going to concentrate on fuse 8, upper left, and I will hook you to the scope, and we're going to start taking a capture. Okay, all right, I don't know if did I tell you guys where each channel is? Okay, my bad. All right, okay, I want to tell you where each channel is. Channel A blue, we are at the feed to the crank sensor. That is the 12-volt feed. That does not come from the PCM. That's a full voltage feed. Channel B is the crank sensor signal. Channel C green is the crank sensor ground, which is super important. Channel D yellow is a PCM feed. Channel E purple is a feed to fuel injector 4. Over here, just give you a shot of everything what we got here. That's our hookup. Channel 6, the gray, the F channel, is a feed to the ignition coil 4. The 7th channel, channel G orange, is we're going to current ramp the ignition coils. I have a fuse buddy in the car, basically in fuse 2, with a fuse buddy in and the current clamp wrapped around the fuse buddy. And the final channel, channel H, or burgundy, we are current ramping the fuel injectors. We are down there, as you can see, the current ramp. It is, believe me, it's there. So we're going to take a look at the scope and start the scope, and then we're going to start the car and see the effect of a glitch. Then we're going to analyze it. All right. Okay. All right. So we start the scope. We'll start the car. Stop the scope and we'll analyze. Go back to the beginning, to the first frame. Okay, as we can see, we'll kind of zoom in on normal. Let's talk about each channel normally, and what normal is. Take a look at your schematic now, and I'll get my schematic so we're on the same page. Okay, we look at channel A, our blue channel. That is our feed to our crank sensor, and that is strong. That is hanging out around operating about 13.5 volts. Channel B is our crank sensor. Our crank sensor looks good and healthy at this time. Channel C is our crank sensor ground, which we want to see a low voltage. We don't want to see a voltage rise. That will give us a problem. We're in the millivolt range there. Maybe about, I'm getting about 94 millivolts. Channel 4 yellow, we are current ramping the ignition, channel 4 yellow is our PCM, is our, what are we here? Got a little bit of clash here with the colors. We're dealing with a lot of colors. Okay, our 4th color is, okay, that is our PCM feed. As you can see, right here, we're pretty strong. Right here, right about here. We're eventually going to go south, as we'll talk about. This is our feed to our PCM, which is super important. That is channel D yellow, channel E purple. is power to the fuel injector 4, which we can see we are strong at this point of the capture. We are about 13 and change, which is expected. That is the running voltage. The 6th channel, or the F channel gray, is our feed to the ignition coils, which also we are strong, which we would expect. We are operating right around, let me do this. Put that in front there. That is our feed. It's hashy, but that is our feed to the ignition coils in gray. Our 7th G channel is our current ramp to the ignition coils, and that is right here. These guys are right here in orange, and these guys are strong. That's our sequential. That is our ignition, our current ramp on each coil. We want to take a look on that. We want to kind of zoom in and what a good one looks like. That's a good current ramp. That little piece of tail, a little bit is normal, not too much. There's our ramp. We got a good ramp, and that's when we fire the ignition. Let's get back to the final channel, channel H burgundy, is our fuel injectors. So let's take a look at them, and they are right here. They are here. These are our fuel injectors, and they are looking good. We've got about an amp flowing to the to each injector sequentially as expected right here. Okay, now take a look back at your illustration. Look at the F8 fuse. Take a good look at there. That's where we had that intermittent resistance. The green crusties just for a period of time got in there, and let's see what it affected in our circuit. Take a look at your whole circuit, and we'll take each channel one at a time. Right here we had a break. Here's where we started to break. Here's where the glitch started to show its rear its ugly head there. And as you take each channel, it's going to make sense. We want to analyze this because we want to know what went down and what didn't went down. That is just as important. The blue channel went down, which is expected. That is the feed to the crank sensor. So when that PGM main relay latched, just for a period of time, let's see how long we were glitched and how in milliseconds. Okay, I got about 227 milliseconds. That's a pretty short period of time. Only a scope would capture something like that. Our second channel is the crank sensor signal, which went south. It lost its power. It went away, as we can see right there. Our third channel, green, is the crank sensor ground, which pretty much was unaffected because that is the ground part of the circuit, not the feed part of the circuit. Channel D, yellow, that is going to the PCM, and that is right here. That is that guy about right here. We can see it. That is the PCM feed, super important and part of that relay. So that PCM lost its feed. Every PCM power and ground, fellas and ladies, is super important. So just be mindful of that. So channel E is our power to the fuel injector. That is power to fuel injector 4. And as we can see on that channel, that is purple, we went down. We lost power to the fuel injector. Our 6th F channel, gray, is power to our number 4 fuel injector. Hey, what does that look like? That did not go away. So we can kind of disseminate something about this problem. If we were looking at this problem and we had the schematic in front of us, we have to say to ourselves, well, it was strong at the PC, it was strong at the ignition coil, but bad at the injector, the PCM, and the crank sensor. So we would look at the circuit and kind of narrow in where our problem could be. Our final channel is the current ramp of the fuel injectors. I'm sorry. I missed G. G orange is a current ramp of the ignition coils, which went away because ignition is dependent upon the actual triggering of the coils is dependent on a good crank signal and good power to the PCM. So that went away because it needs that crank sensor to help it trigger. Okay, our 8th or burgundy channel is the current ramp of the ignition coils, and that also went away because, as I said, it's dependent on a good crank input. The one previous to that is the current ramp of the injectors. That would go away because it lost its trigger, it lost its PCM, and plus it lost its actual feed, which the coils did not. So we would look at this and say, hey, if we were looking at this, we were troubleshooting this vehicle, we would have to be going up toward fuse in that area. So we would narrow it down closer and closer to where our glitch is. So anyway, as I move through the capture, we can see it coming and going. Pretty much the effects of a loose fuse on 4 right here. And we can see, and then I shut the car off. So basically, you would look at this and say, and you look at your schematic one more time and say, okay, you know, what don't we have and what do we have? And we would infer, deduce that we would have a feed issue, but then we would probably narrow it down more and more to see where specifically it's coming from. Anyway, I'm going to shoot a part 2. I'm going to do something. I'm going to keep the hookup the same, but we're going to see the effects of where fuse 2 is glitched, like fuse 8 in this one. And the next time you see me, fuse 8 will be good, and we're going to see the effect of a glitch at fuse 2 and the way it affects it. Okay, thanks for watching. All the best. See you soon.